Well, good Monday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods. How's everybody doing? It is Monday. It is a new week, and I've almost forgotten how to do the set here. It feels like it's been forever since I've been here. I guess the last morning report I did was last Sunday here. Did I do one before we hit the road? I can't even remember. But everything since that time has been a blur. I am so glad to be home. We've got stuff that's literally everywhere from the trip that we're putting away and stuff. And I'm just trying to get my bearings straight. And I hope that everybody had a happy Father's Day. You know, it's funny because this morning when I woke up, I'm looking at the Twitter. You know, Twitter don't play. Twitter is hilarious. I see that the Washington Commanders away wished Dak Prescott a happy birthday. Since we're 1-9 against you, we'd like to wish you a happy Father's Day. At Dak. They recognize. What's amazing is the fact that the Cowboys have, for the most part, owned the division. They haven't won it every year with Dak, but they have done pretty good. I believe we're 25-6 in the division. 25-6. But somehow, when the Cowboys do something, it's brushed off, or they find reasons why it doesn't matter. And that's your trash. I don't think anybody has owned a division the way Dak Prescott has, with the exception of maybe Tom Brady. 25-6 against the teams that you face twice a year. I know we got to get the playoff success, but that's pretty damn good. And for people to look at what that quarterback has had for success and then say, nah, they ain't got it, when clearly he was not 100% last year, you really need to reevaluate that. Another interesting piece here is Pro Football Focus. Now, see, this is what I tell you always happens. Here's what always happens with the Cowboys. We miss the playoffs. This is a cycle system. We miss the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys are trash. You know, they're underachievers. They are, just the worst thing since sliced bread. The management of the team, the general manager just needs to go. And they basically tell you that things that happen with the Cowboys don't happen with anybody else. They will tell you that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. That Jalen Hurts, he's the more trusted quarterback than Dak Prescott. A guy who's had 16 touchdown passes in one season. Okay. Then what happens is, by training camp, they evolve to tell you that everything about the Cowboys is great. You can see Pro Football Focus now is up in here talking about Zeke Elliott, ready for the bounce back year. Kellon Moore, the number 2 play caller in the NFL. They're saying there's Andy Reid, and then there's Kellon Moore. And Brian Leftwich, Kyle Shanahan, and Sean McVay. Now, maybe Kellon Moore isn't as bad as we portray, but I'm not ready to say that he's better than Sean McVay. I'm just not there yet. I'm not ready to say he's better than Brian Leftwich. I'm not ready to say he's better than Kyle Shanahan. But see, once you put Cowboys in something, either overinflating them or undervaluing them, we talk about it. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm talking about it. The end of the year, Pro Football Focus, you know, Skip, the boys at Pro Football Focus, they said that the Dallas Cowboys offensive line was the best offensive line in football. I just look across the board and see 13 penalties from Connor Williams, 9 penalties from Tyler Baddish, 9 penalties from Lyle Collins in 10 games. I looked at how the Cowboys couldn't run the football. I looked at how the Cowboys had less time to throw than any other season that they've had with Dak Prescott. And I wonder how the hell they could say we had the best offensive line in football. Tyron Smith was great the first half before he got hurt, but was not the same even when he came back. Tyler Baddish, a lot of people would like to push him over a bridge. Terrence Steele, a rookie undrafted free agent starting his second year who did not perform great his first year. Lyle Collins, who missed 7 games because he failed to take the P test. Connor Williams, who led the NFL in penalties. How you could say that that is the best offensive line in football?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
That's the only thing I can say. So we are now seeing the reinvention of the Dallas Cowboys to set up the expectations that if they don't go deep in the playoffs or to the Super Bowl, it's a failure. They have killed Kellon Moore all offseason, and now they're saying he's the second best play caller? Seriously? Seriously. This is where you know that we're being basically trolled and set up. It just is. So, a couple of things that are interesting. And again, I'm just getting back into the swing of things, even though I was only, 10 miles away from where the Cowboys were practicing and literally around the corner, sleeping around the corner from AT&T Stadium. There was no time for us to go through and concentrate on the Cowboys. We had a mission to take care of. And so I'm just beginning to get caught back up. And I'm hearing about, the new helmet that Zeke Elliott is wearing. And after understanding what happened with Marion Barber, as well as other running backs that the Cowboys have had, as well as other running backs in general. And when you think about the trauma that happens on a regular basis, we focus in on the big name players. When we hear about Marion Barber, because that's a guy you understand. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, you don't think about much because they're not really a known quantity. But trust me, there is a lot of brain trauma that goes with them. That Visas 1 came out a couple years ago with a helmet that basically is like a shock absorber, that it literally absorbs the stuff. And for years, I've kind of said in my mind, instead of a hard helmet, why don't we come with a softer helmet so that way it absorbs the blow? And of course, people will say, oh, no, it's not the same. It's not cool and all that, or players would resist it. But think about NASCAR, how they've come through with the harnesses, the crash harnesses, that are kind of restrictive. The drivers at first were kind of like, we don't want to wear this thing. It's restrictive. I want to be able to move and stuff like that. So you're in an accident and it saves your life. And they've adjusted and they've gotten used to it. So I remember back in when I was in high school, because I remember Richie Pettibone Jr., who played on our football team in high school. Him and another one of our linebackers had this padded piece. It was like red covering on it that they would wear on their helmets at practice. And it was a cushion. Basically, it was about 1 inch thick. And what it did was when you hit, instead of hard plastic going against hard plastic, that softness helped absorb the blow. And so now you're beginning to see where offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight ends, and things are now wearing these in practice. As Zach Martin says, it takes away your swag. It's not cool wearing it. But I tell you what's cool is when you have your brains and your mental faculties. See, I don't have it because I didn't wear one. I've been concussed quite a few times playing football, and so on. But having a quality of life after football, that's key. And maybe this is the new evolution of what's going to happen as far as safety goes. The more we hear about guys that are dealing with CTEs, heroes of mine like Tony Dorsett, the more we realize we love football, but we also have to realize that it is killing players. And so that's where the adjustment needs to be found. A happy medium where it's still a football game and that we're not doing damage to the players. Finally, I'm going to go to, I haven't done one of these in so long. It's a while. It's Mike Ferrillo. Mike Ferrillo, who I'm not really a big fan of, but I'm trying to catch up with everything. So we have, of course, talking about Mike McCarthy being docked another practice. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You got killed because you said that the team was nervous before the playoff game. And so you try and bring back some physicality, and then you get, lambasted again because now you're being too physical. Again, this is what they do to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's listen in for a few minutes.
Cowboys docked an OTA day in 2023 for physical practices. Second straight year, the Cowboys have been disciplined for violating the rules of the CBA regarding off-season workouts. $100,000 comes out of Mike McCarthy's pocket. And look, this happens because, and it's not just the coach going out there and encouraging players to be excessively physical. What happens is you got grown men that want to go compete. You got guys who are trying to earn roster spots. You got 90 guys in the offseason program, and you only got 53 helmets that go to the players when September rolls around, and they want to impress the coaches. So part of the obligation of being a responsible coach in the NFL is dialing it back, is telling guys, you can't do that, throwing them off the field or at least out of the fray, put them to the sideline if they're being too aggressive, because that is going to get guys injured and it's going to get teams in trouble. And next year when Sean Payton's the head coach of the Cowboys, we'll have one fewer OTA day, Shireen.
We do see this a lot with new coaches, Mike, especially coming in, and we saw it with the Bears with Matt Eberflus earlier this week. Had the same thing, and now Mike McCarthy, but he's a veteran coach, and he should have known better from last year, like how this should play out, and he talked about it a lot after getting a $50,000 fine last year about how they were trying to do things the right way, and it was only a handful of practices and all that, and now here they are again. And what this leads to, though, Mike, is more scrutiny next year from the NFLPA. We saw the Seahawks many years ago lose a draft pick for this same thing. So I would expect if the Cowboys do this again next year with whoever their head coach is, that they will lose a draft pick for 3 years in a row. So they're going to have to be extra careful next year.
I think the reality is pretty much any team could be penalized every given year. How aggressive, though, does the union want to be, and how far does it have to go to get the union to act? I know a few weeks ago there was a report of a fight during a Giants OTA practice, and look, they're only fighting if they are engaged in excessive contact. That's why a fight starts in a minicamp practice or an OTA practice. Somebody takes exception to how aggressively another player was treating this no pads but still helmets workouts. So it used to be a lot worse. It's still a thing. And you're right, new coaches, for a variety of reasons. They want to do a good job. They want to turn around a struggling team, and they've never been head coaches before. You've got a lot that you're trying to balance during practice. Worrying about whether or not your guys are being too aggressive may not be high up on your list of priorities. And you got a desperate coach in Mike McCarthy, and obviously he knows that Sean Payton is looming. He knows he's out there. And he knows he's going to be coaching again next year, and he knows if he read
Here we go.
or PFT that Sean Payton was almost the coach of the Cowboys 3 years ago. But for Anthony Davis wanting out of New Orleans, Payton would have been the coach of the Cowboys 3 years ago. So, yeah, there's an urgency to get more out of this team, especially when the Cowboys seem like maybe their talent is going the wrong way. Zeke Elliott is a guy whose talent has kind of gone the wrong way in recent years. Here's McCarthy talking about his expectations for the team's star running back, whose star may be falling in 2022?
They don't have it quite ready yet.
Do we have it? Oh, okay. Well, we don't have it yet. All right. Here it is now. We have it now.
Said he expects Zeke to have his best season in the NFL yet, now that he's healthy. I know it's early, but you see any changes in Zeke?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Zeke is he's completely healthy now, and he's had a tremendous offseason. I mean, the weight that he's been pushing in the weight room, just, the numbers that he's been cranking out, have been very, very impressive. I can't stand to tell you it's been the best of his career, but he's in top shape, and, at the end of the day, he's an extremely instinctive, tough, smart football player, great teammate. So I think he's definitely has set himself up for that.
Yeah, hey, look, here's the bottom line. Tony Pollard's a better running back right now. Ezekiel Elliott is showing the signs of the wear and tear of 6 years in the NFL. That's just the reality. And the only reason he's on the team now is because his contract was negotiated to make his payments fully guaranteed a year in advance. His spot on this year's roster was set when he wasn't cut before the middle of March last year, and he wasn't going to be cut before the middle of March last year because his contract for last year was already guaranteed. That's the difference. You build into the early years of the contract, especially for a running back, and this is why it's important to have a good agent. Your guarantees become fully vested this year for next year. Not for this year, but for next year. And you roll it that way, and you put the team in a position where they have to keep you around and they have to keep paying you.
Yeah, and he's got no guaranteed money left after this year, Mike. $10.9 million salary next year, $16.72 million cap hit. This is going to be his last year in Dallas unless he agrees to a pay cut after this season. He did have that partially torn PCL last year, which I know limited him, and he played through it, and he's become a great leader for this team. But as you said, he's not even the best running back on his team, much less the best running back in the NFL, which is what he was paid like back when he was paid for that. And he showed that in his first 3 seasons. The only season of his first 3 seasons he didn't lead the league in rushing was the one he was suspended for 6 games. So they've said all the right things about Ezekiel Elliott this offseason, and he has done all the right things to set himself up to have a good season. But they're only going to have one word for him in the offseason, Mike, if he doesn't play a lot better than he's played the last 2 seasons, and that's bye, because they're going to get rid of him if he doesn't perform better than what he's performed the last 2 years. 4.1 yards per carry, 61.9 yards per game over the last 2 years combined. He hasn't been playing like he's been paid. He has been paid way more money than how he has performed, Mike. So he does need to show, regardless of whether it's...
I'm going to stop right there with this because, see, this is one of those ones where there's perception and then there's reality. Perception is that Zeke Elliott has lost it, that he's not the same guy, that he's overpaid, that he's the highest paid running back in football, and that the Cowboys are the only one that have this issue. But I want you to understand, as you look at the numbers here, some of this is skewed. Now, I'm not going to say that Zeke Elliott's second half of the season wasn't good, but he did have a torn PCL. Even playing through 4 of those games with the torn PCL, the first half of the season, he was averaging 4.7 yards a carry. You also have to take into consideration that Dak hurt his calf, which limited him, which changes the dynamics of the offense, that the offensive line was shuffling every week because Tyron Smith would go out, and we take Terrence Steele, put him at tackle. Left tackle. Then we bring Lyle Collins. We took Connor McGovern and brought him in for Connor Williams. Tyler Badish has a way of being lifted up and dropped in the quarterback's lap. The offensive line was not there. I'm not going to lie to you and say that Zeke Elliott is the same guy he was as a rookie. He's not. But to turn around, the way they talk about Zeke Elliott is like he is the worst running back in football and that he is so overpaid. Here's the thing. Let's go ahead and bring in some reality. And I'm sure most of you have stopped watching because this video has gotten long. But here's what's kind of interesting to me, because as I look at this, average salary per year, Zeke Elliott is tied with Alvin Kamara at $15 million at the number 2 spot. Christian McCaffrey, for some reason, nobody talks about Christian McCaffrey, who signed his mega deal and literally had 442 yards last year and 225 the year before. Why don't they say that Christian McCaffrey is gone? He's overpaid. They only focus on the Cowboys, folks. Only on the Cowboys. Alvin Kamara, if you're saying Zeke Elliott is a bum, averaged 4.2 yards a carry last year, well, Alvin Kamara only averaged 3.7. And it's having the same compensation that Zeke Elliott does. But we don't talk about Alvin Kamara is overpaid and needs to perform or get out. You see what they do to us? Now, Zeke Elliott is not going to be a 2,000-yard back at this point in his career. There are very few of those. Unless we bring back the Great Wall of Dallas. We bring back the Great Wall of Dallas, then it's possible. Because the holes weren't there, folks. The holes were not there. The Cowboys could not run the football. Check the statistics on some of those games that we are killing Zeke Elliott, where Zeke's got 26, 27 yards. Look where Tony Pollard is there in those games. Right below him. Some of those games, Dak Prescott had more yards than your running back. It was the offensive line, people. Don't let them baffle you with the bullshit. Don't let them bullshit you. Now, here's what will happen, because somebody asked me last night during my live stream, will Zeke Elliott be back, the following year? I say yes, he will. Zeke Elliott won't be going anywhere. Zeke Elliott will be another 1,000-yard back this year. They'll use Tony Pollard more as the gadget guy. And he'll get more touches. But Zeke Elliott will still be the workhorse. And Zeke Elliott, if it weren't for Zeke Elliott's blocking on some of these occasions, our quarterbacks would have been killed. Make no mistake about it. What will happen is the Cowboys will redo Zeke Elliott's contract. Same way they did DeMarcus Lawrence's, unless he just has like a abysmal season. If he has an abysmal season, like a 500-yard season, okay. Then he says bye-bye. But if Zeke Elliott still churning out 4.2 yards a carry, or gets it back up to 4.5, which I believe it will be, he will remain a Dallas Cowboy. That being said, I've gotten a little long-winded today. I've got a lot of stuff to do to get back on track. I've got work to do in the workshop. I've got pieces of artwork that are coming to you guys that we have to do. And so I'm going to get my ass to work, because that's what we do around here. Tonight we'll be here at 9 o'clock Eastern for our regular live stream, and I need help from you guys. I have, if you heard Stuart Morrison when he called in on that Saturday night, the night before he died, he wanted to make sure I had two things from him: the Micah Parsons helmet and the Tom Landry, Roger Staubach signed print. I'm trying to figure out where this should go. I'm trying to decide if it should go right here, so it can be right over my shoulder looking down on me, or if he should go up there with the football gods, build a base to set it up a little bit higher so he can watch over and tell us the fantasy stats. Or if it should go over here on the desk or another place. I want your help on that one. Where it should go. Where Stuart should go. So with that being said, I'll see you guys as well as you ladies tonight. And let's roll. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe